Still another object of the invention is to suitably encode a pulsed RF carrier with an amplitude modulated envelope such that the modulation will be intelligibly demodulated by the means of the RF hearing effect. A related object is to permit a message to be identified and understood as speech when a listener does not know beforehand that the message is speech. Other aspects of the invention will become apparent after considering several illustrative embodiments taken in conjunction with the drawings. And I don't know if I'm going to go through those. Yeah, I mean, that gets pretty complicated to read. But go ahead and anybody look up the microwave auditory effect patent or voice to skull patent, and come down and you can see some of the parts of the invention, the horror, the horrible nightmare. I am going to go ahead and read the claims real quick because that kind of tells us a little bit more here and kind of explains. Okay, so claims. What is claimed is a method of, number one, a method of encoding an input audio signal to produce a double sideband output signal having a WC carrier frequency, which then transmitted to the head of a receiving subject will, by the radio frequency hearing effect, induce a thermal acoustic signal. So it's microwave. I don't know why they keep saying radio free. I guess a radio frequency can be defined as a microwave if it's in a certain range. This patent was changed from the last time that I read it. And they used the term microwave the last time I read it. And they changed that to RF. This is troubling, y'all. This is very troubling. Because it seems like there's some people like well, I'm just going to read on. This is very troubling. Will, by the radio frequency hearing effect, induce a thermal acoustic signal in the bone tissue material of the head that replicates the input audio signal and is conducted by the bone tissue structure of the head to the inner ear, where it is demodulated by the normal processes of the cochlea and converted to nerve signals, which are sent to the brain, thereby enabling intelligible speech to be perceived by the brain as any other nerve signal from the cochlea. The method comprising applying an input audio signal to an audio pre-distortion filter with a filter function to produce a first output signal, adding a very, very low frequency bias to the first output signal to produce a second output signal, applying the second output signal to a square root processor to produce a third output signal, applying the third output signal to a balance modulator to produce a double sideband output signal where WC is the carrier frequency, and transmitting the double sideband output signal to the head of the receiving subject, which is targeted individuals with voice to skull. The method of claim 1, wherein the AS parentheses F close parentheses filter function step further compromises the step of de-emphasizing the high frequency content. The method of claim 1, wherein the further step of suppressing one of the sidebands of the double sideband output signal is done, resulting in a single sideband modulation transmission. Okay. But just come and check that out. The language is pretty distorted and very, very scientific. Using very, I guess, very empty terms for actually shooting a microwave at somebody's head that then, by expansion of the brain and contraction, the cooling process of your brain, then conduct an audio signal to your inner ear. But come and check that out. I'm going to go to some other articles. A TI friend of mine sent me this from Mankind Research Unlimited, EM Phenomena and Weapons, so electromagnetic phenomena and weapons, the work of Alan Frey. And I'm going to try and not close that. Yeah, I'm going to read this first, and then I'm going to go to Wikipedia on some of it, on the microwave hearing effect. Let's see how much let's see if you can see it. I guess I won't be able to get it all. Alright, I'll get half of it, guys, and y'all just have to listen to my voice, and I'll go ahead and... I don't think it's... I think I'm actually going to have to reduce it more here. To 150, yeah. We'll see. I know it's kind of hard to see all of it, so I'll just go ahead and read it. Let's see how long it is. It's not that long, and then I can go to the Wikipedia article and just kind of... I'll try and just talk about Voice of Skull until either an hour or my phone, either an hour or when my data fills up for my phone, because they've been kind of doing some things, so I don't have as much data on it. Not data, process, just space on the phone. Wow, I'm having a lot of trouble tonight. Reading that patent kind of made me mad because they changed it actually in the last 2 years. Who is they? I don't know who they is. It's not my attackers, but somebody maybe in the military-industrial complex went through and maybe took microwave out of some stuff and replaced it with radio frequency. Call me paranoid. But I'll tell you that I am not, and there's some really screwed up stuff going on. Okay, the work of Alan Fry. In 1960, biologist Alan Fry, then 25, was working at General Electric's Advanced Electronics Center at Cornell University when he was contacted by a technician whose job was to measure the signals emitted by radar stations. The technician claimed that he could hear radar. Fry traveled to the facility where the man worked and stood at the edge of a radar beam. And sure enough, I could hear it too, he said. I could hear the radar going zip, zip, zip. Fry went on to establish that the effect was real. Microwave radiation from radar and other source could somehow be heard by human beings. The hearing, however, didn't happen via normal sound waves perceived through the ear. It apparently occurred somewhere in the brain itself, as microwaves interacted with the brain cells, which generate tiny electrical fields. Frey proved also that many deaf people and animals could hear microwave radiation. This phenomenon came to be known as the Fry effect, or simply microwave hearing. See, and I think they changed in that patent to RF hearing effect. I really remember reading that patent, and it said the microwave hearing effect. That is very, very scary that they are changing words like that. So when people go and look up these patents, it doesn't seem as harmful as it really is. That is crazy. At that time, the U.S. military, which was interested in greatly expanding its use of radar around populated areas, had substantial funding available to investigate the effects of such radiation on health. For the next 2 decades, Fry, funded by the Office of Naval Research in the U.S. Army, was the most active researcher on the bioeffects of microwave radiation in the country. Fry caused rats to become docile by exposing them to radiation at an average power level of only 50 microwatts per square centimeter. He altered specific behaviors of rats at 8 microwatts per square centimeter. He altered the heart rate of live frogs at 3 microwatts per square centimeter. At only 0.6 microwatts per square meter, he caused isolated frogs' hearts to stop beating by timing the microwave pulses at a precise point during the heart's rhythm. 0.6 microwatts per square centimeter is about 10,000 times less than the amount of radiation an active cell phone would expose a man's heart to if he carried it in his shirt pocket. 0.6 microwatts per square centimeter is about 10,000 times less than the amount of radiation an active cell phone would expose a man's heart to if he carried it in his shirt pocket. Now, I'm not sure if they're talking about the older cell phones, because it seems like the new smartphones do actually emit more non-ionizing microwave radiation than the older ones. So I'm not sure if they're talking about smartphones there. it'd probably be it's about 1,000 times less than the amount of radiation an active cell phone would expose, an active smartphone would expose man's heart to. In a study published in 1975 in the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences, Fry reported that microwaves could induce leakage in the barrier between the circulatory system and the brain. Breaching the blood-brain barrier is a serious matter. It means that bacteria, viruses, and toxins from the blood can enter the brain. It means the brain's environment, which needs to be extremely stable for nerve cells to function properly, can be perturbed in other dangerous ways. Fry's method was rather simple. He injected a fluorescent dye into the circulatory system of white rats, then swept the microwave frequencies across their bodies. In a matter of minutes, the dye had leached into the confines of the rats' brains. Dr. Leif Salford, whose work is also highlighted here, is currently the most active researcher continuing Fry's pioneering work on the blood-brain barrier. Okay, I'm going to go to the Wikipedia article. I'm going to look at some of these and maybe do them for the second part. About voice to skull, and I'll probably do that tomorrow because this is just an important topic for me. It's really ruined my life. I mean, the torture has too, the directed energy weapon torture has, but this is really bad psychological torture to turn a voice on in somebody's head or a conversation, and then do chatterbox software with it to completely just have external voices bounce off their skull, but really the microwave auditory effect 24 hours a day. I mean, you can't imagine how hard that is for a lot of TIs and myself. Okay, microwave auditory effect. The microwave auditory effect, also known as the microwave hearing effect or the Fry effect, consists of audible clicks or with speech modulation spoken words induced by pulse-modulated microwave frequencies. The clicks are generated directly inside the human head without the need of any receiving electronic device. The effect was first reported by persons working in the vicinity of radar transponders, what we just read about, during World War II. During the Cold War era, the American neuroscientist Okay, well, I guess that's not what we just read about. During the Cold War era, the American neuroscientist Alan Fry studied this phenomenon and was the first to publish information on the nature of the microwave auditory effect. Pulsed microwave radiation can be heard by some workers. The irradiated personnel perceived auditory sensations of clicking or buzzing. The cause is thought to be thermoelastic expansion of portions of the auditory apparatus. Competing theories explain the results of the interferometric holography test differently. Wow, that was hard to say. Let me try and read it again. Competing theories explain the results of the interferometric holography test differently. Well, that was a little bit better. In 2003 to 2004, the Wave Band Corp had a contract from the U.S. Navy for the design of an MAE system they called Medusa, Mob Excess Deterrent using silent audio, intended to remotely, temporarily incapacitate personnel. The project was canceled in 2005, or so they say. Or so they say, the military-industrial complex. And the military-industrial complex, and the DoD, and the CIA. I'm getting very angry while I'm reading this, guys. I don't think it's from remote neural manipulation. I think it's just because I've 7 years of my life have been dealing with, the microwave hearing effect and people messing around with it 24 hours a day with my brain and my ears. The other stuff too makes me mad, but this makes me the most angry. And then just to be, railroaded when all this information is out there for the public, and then what they did in MK Ultra, what our military industrial complex did in MK Ultra, to put together that these things exist and that our government